Guys, we finally did it. We're part of the Marathon Club. First off, I want to say that this was such an amazing experience, and I did not expect to go through everything that I did during this event. But yeah, this was my first ever marathon that I ran, and I set a very hard goal for myself, which was to complete the marathon in under 3 hours. And hitting a sub-3 is no easy task, especially it being my first marathon. But I decided to lock in right away. I started doing my research on how to train properly to come prepared and give it my best shot during the marathon. And I think I really did a good job at staying consistent and really listening to the training plan the way it told me to do it. And I honestly just used ChatGPT to do all of this. Like, I was listening to ChatGPT on how many rest days I should take per week, on how to fuel up for the marathon, how to fuel up for my training, how to fuel up for my long runs, when to take a rest day, when to do my speed work, my intervals, my hill sprints, everything. And I really trusted that plan that is set for me. And although some days it did give me some questionable training routine and a pretty hard schedule, for the most part, I feel like I followed it just as it told me to do things and made some small and minor adjustments here and there. But overall, I was very pleased with the training plan it gave me. I got about 13 full weeks of training, but for the most part, I followed every single training day as the chat GPT told me to train. And I completed the full about 13 weeks of training, and the last 2 weeks were taper weeks, or mainly the last week. The second to last week was still pretty heavy on the training, but the final week was a lot less volume and still with a bit of high intensity, but in short bursts. And I ended up tapering pretty well. I was very pleased with my full training, and I think the taper did its job. I ended up showing up on marathon day feeling fully recovered, and my body just felt well rested and strong. And yeah, 3 days before the marathon, I started carb loading as my training plan told me to do so. And 2 days out, I was still carb loading, sodium loading, making sure I was filling up the glycogen levels as much as I could. I ended up ordering some Martin products for the fuel up and for race day. And on Friday, I ended up going to pick up my bib at the Dodger Stadium. My wife and I went to pick up our bibs, and we stayed at the expo after and just checked it out for a bit. But yeah, they had a lot of cool products there. I even got to see I'm not sure if they were the first ever, but they had the carbon plated sandals that somebody actually ran the marathon in and got a crazy like 2:10 or 2:15 marathon finishing time in the sandals. And that was pretty crazy. But yeah, stayed there for a little bit after we picked up our bibs, and then we just headed back home to rest. We woke up on marathon day, and right away I went to hydrate with my Martin drink mix, and I hydrated well. I ate one of the solid bars that they had, which was like a very carby, solid, like almost like a Rice Krispie type bar. And I had that right away as I woke up. After that, we ended up leaving, headed over to the Dodger Stadium around 4:30 a.m. And honestly, we were a little bit unprepared and didn't know where to go. And we lined up all the way in the back because I thought that's where the open corral section was. But then we found out that you're supposed to actually wait at where the pacers are with the signs for your given time or your goal time. And I thought it would be all right just to wait behind the 4:30 finishers, 4 hours and 30 minutes. And that was honestly a mistake I made, because I ended up having to weave through all these people in order to try to make it all the way to where the 3-hour pacers were. But it was honestly very difficult. I think it cost me a lot of energy and a lot of time just trying to weave through all the thousands of people that were running at the slower paces. And so the first few miles I took off I started off the first mile like around a 7:30 per mile pace, just trying to weave through everybody. And slowly I started dropping those numbers down more and more and more. And at about mile 5, I decided to, once I got away from all the crowd of people and I was like a little bit further ahead, I stopped to use the porta potty because I really had to pee as soon as like the run was about to start. And I waited till mile 5 to do that. So I did that and then took about a minute there and tried to keep a fast pace in order to catch up to those sub-3 or 3-hour finishers. And I ended up reaching the 3:20 pacers, and I ended up passing them at one point. And I kept going, kept pushing the pace a little bit. And yeah, I never found the 3 or the sub-3 pacers, but during I believe it was like mile 23, I started feeling like my quads were cramping up really bad and my right calf. And as soon as I felt that, I was like, no way. Like, I know the last few miles of this course are uphill, especially the last mile. And I was just really feeling it those last few miles. I started noticing that my goal was slipping away from me, and I tried to push as hard as I could, but with those quads just feeling super crampy and my calf feeling that too, I slowly started noticing that I was not going to make it to my goal. And at that point, I just felt like I just had to keep going no matter what time I got. I was just going to try to get as close as I could to the 3-hour finish. And so I kept running. A lot of people during miles 18 through about 25, a lot of people started cramping up really bad, and I started noticing people were just stepping to the side of the course and stopping and needing to stretch. And I just told myself I wasn't going to stop, and I was just going to keep going. And the last miles 25 to 26, that was I could see the hill coming up from like about a quarter mile away, and I just knew like that was going to be a hard push. And I ended up just getting through that hill. It was very difficult, and then I could finally see the finish line. And by that point, I was like struggling to keep going, but I was still moving at an okay pace, about a 7:20 per mile pace. And yeah, I knew I had already missed. By that point, I knew I had already missed my goal. And I was like a couple minutes over already. And I got to the finish line, and I clocked in at 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 22 seconds. And honestly, it just felt so good to get past that finish line. And although I didn't reach my sub-3 attempt, I didn't reach that goal, I felt super proud of myself, and it really felt amazing to be a part of that whole event, no matter the time that I got. And yeah, I have some of the stats back here. I'll read some of these stats that it shows here. It says in my division, I placed 70 out of, I believe it showed like out of 2,200 people in my division. And then overall, I placed 293 out of about, I think it said like out of 21,900 or something like that. But I was very pleased with that. Like, it was honestly better than I expected. Although I set that goal of a sub 3 hour finish, I knew it wasn't going to be easy considering this was my first race ever. And I honestly kept seeing a lot of running influencers and people that are already established in the running community and that have raced in all these like Chicago Marathon, London Marathon. And after seeing all these people attempt a sub-3 like so many times and still not get as close as I got to it in my first race, that really it really gave me a huge boost and it really raised my confidence and let me know that I could do great things in running. And yeah, I think it just sparked up a fire inside of me to try to become a better runner and to perform better at my next marathon race. And yeah, I think that's my goal, is to look for another race, let my body heal a little bit, recover, rest, maybe pick it up on as far as weight training goes, because I feel like I can improve there, at least with my lower body strength and upper body too. I think that can contribute to my running form and everything, but I think I'm going to hit the weights for a little bit, let my body rest for maybe about a week, start easing back into the running, look for another race, start off with a half marathon to test my speed there. But yeah, hopefully I can give myself a good training block in order to make some gains in my speed and my strength and my endurance. And yeah, as soon as I have that, just lock in. As soon as I know when my next race will be, just lock into a good training plan and try to get better. I'm super excited about like one day running at one of these major marathons, like the London Marathon, the Berlin one. It'd be crazy to be able to run at one of those. And yeah, I feel super confident in being able to do that. But yeah, that was my experience at the LA Marathon. Thank you guys for tuning into my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next vlog.